Bukayo Saka is not Arsenal's problem. He is the reason Arsenal's problem has been hidden for so long, because when one player is that reliable, that consistent, and that trusted, it becomes easy to build too much of the attack around him. But the World Cup and this transfer window should force Arsenal to ask a harder question. Are they protecting Saka, or are they still asking him to carry too much? Now let's be clear about the case. This is not criticism of Saka, it is protection of Saka, because Arsenal's problem is not that they trust him. They should trust him. He has earned that. The problem begins when the attack starts depending on him too often to provide the answer. When the game is tight, look for Saka. When the left side is quiet, look for Saka. When the striker needs service, look for Saka. When the midfield needs an outlet, look for Saka. And that is exactly what opponents prepare for. They know Arsenal's right side can decide games, so they shift across, they double up, they block the inside lane, they force the ball backwards, and then they ask the rest of Arsenal's attack one brutal question. Can you hurt us from somewhere else? This is where the Saka case becomes bigger than one player, because if opponents are willing to send extra bodies toward him, Arsenal should be able to punish the space that leaves somewhere else. That is the whole point. If the right side is overloaded, the left side should become dangerous. If the left side becomes dangerous, the striker should get better service. If the striker occupies defenders, midfield runners should find more space. That is how an elite attack creates consequences. But if Saka gets doubled, and the left side does not punish it, and the striker is still waiting for service, and midfield has to recycle the ball again, then the opponent's plan has worked. They have not stopped Arsenal completely. They have just made Arsenal predictable, and that is the hidden danger. Saka can still be brilliant, but if Arsenal do not build enough threat around him, his brilliance becomes easier to prepare for. Now this is where the left side becomes unavoidable, because helping Saka does not mean giving him another player standing next to him. That can actually make the space tighter. Helping Saka means building danger away from him. It means giving the opponent a reason to hesitate before sending two players across. That is where the left side matters. If Martinelli is on that side, Arsenal need to release his runs earlier. If Trossard is on that side, Arsenal need to use his calmness and intelligence in tight spaces. If a new signing arrives, the role has to be clear. Not just another attacker, not just another name, a real threat that changes the opponent's plan. Because when the left side is dangerous, Saka gets more room. When Saka gets more room, Arsenal's whole attack becomes less predictable. That is the point. The left side is not separate from Saka's problem. It is part of the solution. Now we have to talk about the striker as well, because Saka carrying too much is not only a wide player issue, it is also a central attacking issue. If Arsenal have a striker who is not receiving enough clean service, the attack naturally starts searching for the most reliable route again. And too often, that route becomes Saka. Give it to Saka. Let him create. Let him combine. Let him force the moment. But that cannot be the whole plan. A striker has to become a real consequence for opponents. If defenders overload Saka, the striker has to punish the space. If defenders track the striker, midfield runners have to arrive. If the striker is isolated, then the system has not helped him enough. So this is not just about buying a forward. It is about building an attack that feeds the forward properly. Because if Arsenal sign a striker but still depend on Saka to solve every difficult phase, then they have not fixed the burden. They have only moved the conversation. Now this is where the midfield comes into the case, because Saka's burden is not only about the left side or the striker, it is also about rhythm. When Arsenal cannot progress cleanly, when the attack slows down, when the ball keeps coming back instead of going forward, the team starts looking for the safest solution. And very often, that solution is Saka. That tells you something. It means the midfield has to do more than control possession. It has to help create different routes into danger. A pass into the left channel, a runner beyond the striker, a quicker switch before the defense resets, a late arrival when defenders collapse toward the front line. That is how midfield support reduces the burden, not by replacing Saka's creativity, but by giving Arsenal more ways to reach dangerous areas without always needing Saka to force the moment. Because if the midfield only controls the game but does not help change the attacking picture, Saka still ends up carrying too much. Now this is why the transfer window matters, because if Arsenal know Saka needs help, then every attacking decision has to be judged through that lens. Not just who is talented, not just who is available, not just who creates excitement online, but who actually reduces the burden. A left-sided attacker only helps if he gives Arsenal a real second threat. A striker only helps if the structure gives him service and consequence. A midfielder only helps if he creates routes that do not always end with the ball going back to Saka. That is the standard, because Arsenal cannot build the next phase of this attack around one player absorbing pressure every week. That is not sustainable. Not physically, not tactically, not emotionally. Saka can still be the star, but he cannot be the whole solution. And if Arsenal get this right, they do not make Saka less important. They make him more dangerous. This is where Arsenal have to be ruthless with the next decision, because helping Saka cannot just be a nice idea. It has to become a recruitment test. If Arsenal look at a winger, the question is not only, is he exciting? It is, does he punish teams that overload the right side? If Arsenal look at a striker, the question is not only, can he score? It is, does he turn Saka's gravity into central chances? If Arsenal look at a midfielder, the question is not only, can he control games? It is, can he create routes that stop every attack flowing back to Saka? That is the level now. Because if the next signing does not reduce the burden, then Arsenal may still have the same attacking problem with a new name added to the squad, and that is not enough, not for where this team wants to go. Now we have to bring this back to the bigger Arsenal picture, because Saka needing help is not just about protecting one player, it is about making the whole attack harder to stop. If Arsenal reduce the burden on Saka, they do not weaken him, they unlock him, because the less predictable the attack becomes, the harder it is for opponents to trap him. The left side becomes more dangerous, the striker becomes more involved, the midfield has more routes, and suddenly, Saka is not receiving the ball with the whole defensive plan already waiting for him. That is the Arsenal upgrade. Not asking Saka to carry less because he cannot handle it. He can handle pressure. He has proved that. But elite squad planning is not about how much one player can survive. It is about how much danger the whole team can create. And if Arsenal want to take the next step, they cannot keep depending on Saka's brilliance to hide the same attacking imbalance. So, where does that leave the case? It leaves Arsenal with a decision that cannot be delayed forever. Because Saka can keep producing, he can keep fighting through pressure, he can keep giving Arsenal moments when the attack needs him, but that does not mean the structure is healthy. A team can rely on a brilliant player for too long and convince itself the problem is solved. Until the biggest matches arrive, until the double teams become tighter, until the physical load becomes heavier, until the same attacking route starts to feel predictable again. That is why this summer matters. Not because Arsenal need to replace Saka, that would be ridiculous. They need to protect the value of Saka by building more danger around him. A left side that punishes, a striker that benefits, a midfield that creates routes. Because the next Arsenal attack cannot be Saka plus questions. It has to be Saka plus consequences. So here is the verdict. Saka needs help, and Arsenal know it. But this is not about replacing him. It is not about reducing his importance. It is not about asking him to become less central to the attack. That would be the wrong reading of the case. The real issue is consequence. When opponents overload Saka, Arsenal need the left side to punish them. They need the striker to become a real threat from that space. They need midfield runners to create routes that do not always end with the ball going back to the right side. Because Saka can still be Arsenal's star, he just cannot be Arsenal's whole solution. That is too much physically, too much tactically, and too easy for elite opponents to prepare for. So the ruling is clear. Arsenal do not need Saka to carry less because he is not good enough. They need him to carry less because the team around him should be dangerous enough to share the burden. If Arsenal build more threat around him, they do not weaken Saka. They unlock him. Case closed. If you want Arsenal analysis that looks past the headline and follows the evidence, this is exactly what Cannon Casefile is built for. The next case is already open.